In this video, we are going to talk about how to set up a Google Analytics account and the hierarchy within it. To set up an account, as I have discussed earlier, you need a Google Analytics code. But to even get to that code, you need a Google account, which means you need a Gmail ID, a password, a cell phone, website, blog, or an app. And remember, you cannot track any third party apps or websites like YouTube or blog because there is no provision for you to add your code there. Given this information, let's discuss a bit about the hierarchy in a GA account. The GA account has a typical hierarchy so that it's very convenient for you to report back data real time. So for example, if you have a new page on the site and you want to track that page in isolation and report it on a weekly basis, you would have to have a certain hierarchy in an account so that that page can be reported easily. Else, the entire website will be reported easily. So depending on what you want to track and what you want to analyze at what periods, you can create dashboards and reports in Google Analytics. Let me explain all of this by diving live into the account. If you visit google.com and search for Google Merchandise Store Demo Google Analytics account, you'll bump into a link from support.google.com. And if you scroll down further, you will see a link saying Access Demo Account. Now, this is the demo account I already have access to. For you to follow the hierarchy, what you need to do first is click on Admin, which is at the bottom left corner of your screen. And you have three columns in front of you. The first one is called Account, followed by Property, and the third one is View. Let me explain what all these three are. An account is nothing but the owner of the Google Analytics account, and hence the first column is only meant for a person who owns the account. A property is an asset that is owned by the owner. So for example, the account owner could own a website, he could own a blog, or he could own an app. Of course, he could own multiple websites too. And the third column, a view, is nothing but basically a section of the property. So for example, if the property is a website, a view could be the entire website, or it could be a particular section within that property. For example, a certain page or a certain source of traffic that's driving to that page, right? So it's a part of the data that the property is accumulating that makes a view. I repeat, an account is the owner, property is the asset owned by the owner, and view are the reports for that particular property. One account can own multiple properties, and one property can have multiple views. But there are some best practices that you need to keep in mind. Every property should have something called a master view, which is basically every possible detail in that property. So for example, if I have a website, the master view will have all details about that website. Once I have all details of the website on the master view, I can always go and create additional views and add filters to it. Now, every time I add an additional view and I add a filter to it, that means I'm restricting the amount of information I see in the view. So for example, I have a master view here and there are two other views that have been created. Two test view, three raw data view. Now all these three views belong to the same property, Google Merchandise Store. Having said this, now I'm going to introduce you to some of the key sections on this dashboard. The first one being Account User Management, Property User Management, and View User Management. Now, what does these three mean? If I want to share access with a third party at an account level, which means I want the third party to not only get access to the account, but also all the properties and all the views within that account, I need to share access at an account level. Similarly, if I want to share access to all the views to a property, I would share access at a property level. And if I had to share access to a particular view, then I would share access at a view level. The reason why these provisions are available is that you can share access depending on the amount of trust you have on the person you're sharing with. And hence, if you don't trust the person too much, you can simply share view level access and save all the property information and account information for more trustworthy people. Having said this, if you click on View User Management, you will notice that there are many other levels of access you can share information for. For example, I can share only read and analyze access with people I do not trust, but I could share, edit, collaborate, read, analyze, and manage users all level access to people whom I trust. Now, this decision has to be taken by you, and it's very easy to add someone and change the level of access once you know what you want to do with that person. Moving on, the next very important part of this dashboard is under property, tracking info, tracking code. The tracking code is nothing but the JavaScript code that I had warned you about earlier. It looks something like this. And if you recollect, I had mentioned that the first number here, if you notice in the code, the first number here is the account number, which is unique to every account. And the second number here is the property number, which means that if I have a website, I will be using the tracking code with the same account number and -2. If I have another website, it could be -3. If I have an app, that could become -4. So the account number always remains the same. What keeps changing is the property number. So to sum up, the GA code is nothing but a JavaScript code with a UA number made up of the account and the property. The account number always stays constant, and the property number will keep increasing as you keep adding new assets in your GA account. Going back to the main dashboard, the next important section that I want to introduce you is called session settings. Do you remember I told you that a session is nothing but a 30-minute cap within which if a user keeps coming again and again, he or she is counted only once. Now that magical 30 minutes number is here, and I would personally recommend not to change this ever because it's an industry benchmark, and your data could go for a toss if you change it. For instance, if you change this 30-minute number to say 10 minutes, then it would mean that the user, if he comes back after 10 minutes, he would be counted twice, right? And hence the number of sessions on your site will magically jump up. Because this is an industry benchmark, let's all respect it and never change the session duration. The next key section that I would like to introduce you is called property product linking. Here you get to link all possible Google assets. So for example, if I were to click on all products, you get to link all your Google assets ranging from Google Ads, the Search Console, AdSense, and so on with your Google Analytics account. All you need to do is click on the call to action and link your account. It's quite straightforward. Once you link Google Analytics account with Google Ads, you not only know what happened with your ad, but you also come to know what did that user do after he landed on your website. Similarly, if you link Search Console with Analytics, you not only know what keywords and what pages are ranking on Google search, but you also know what happened after the user clicked this link and came to your site. So it gives you an end-to-end tracking mechanism if you link all Google assets together. This is one of the USPs of Google Analytics, and I would request you to leverage it to the fullest. The last section that I want to introduce you on this dashboard is called filters. Now remember, I was telling you that every view you create comes with a master view or an all website data view, which basically means that it's all the information that the property owns. If I had to create a new view, I would simply click this button, create a new view, and then go to filters and add filters as per my discretion. So if I were to go to add filter, go to custom filters, and then decide whether I want to exclude some data from this view or include some data from this view. Supposing I want to include, then I need to pick the parameter that I want to include. So for example, I want to include all information from a particular URL, or I want to include pages that have a certain page title. So depending on your requirement on what dashboard you wish to track, you need to go through these and choose your option. I personally am a big fan of request URL, campaign source, because that tells you where the user is coming from. And there are the other bunch of options like country, city, which are useful. But I would leave this to your discretion to decide what you wish to use and what you want to filter your view by. Let me give you another example. Supposing IIDE, which is an educational institute, is based out of Andheri, Bombay. We might want to create a view where we put a city filter for Bombay and track only visitors from Mumbai in that view. Parallelly, we have another view where we exclude Mumbai and see data of people coming out of Mumbai. So that way we can have two dashboards, one for Mumbai and one for everything other than Mumbai. Hope this gives you a fair sense of how views work and how you add filters to your views. There's another criteria for filters which IID uses very interestingly, and I thought I should tell you about those as well. There's something called an IP address exclusion. For example, IID has multiple branches and it does not want to track the students using Wi-Fi at IID and coming to the site. And hence, it has created a filter called IP address and excluded the IP address. This means IID students logging on from Wi-Fi will not be tracked, but any student coming from outside the Wi-Fi zone will be tracked. By doing so, we ensure that the data doesn't get skewed by our own students. If you are a brand or a client who has a large agency or a large set of employees, you might want to use this trick too so that you ensure that your data never gets skewed by your own employees.